a being is capable of that subjectivity gives it an inherent value.
Well, I wouldn't quarrel with that, but that's not really saying much. Everything has that unique quality. So what?
Well, I think then it becomes like a measure of truth. I mean, and at that point, like, you have to start debating, because how can you know otherwise? I mean, regardless of what it is, I mean, you have to treat it
see, that's
like
the thing.
your
I don't think
perspective
you
is
can.
true.
See, that's the thing is I don't think it makes any difference whether they're just take the concept of external reality, that explains all my perceptions, that there really is a computer here and a desk and a floor and a window and there really are people out there and all of that. It's totally irrelevant. I mean, it could all be a virtual world, and if there's no way I can get past my senses, that's it.
Yes, but
The rest is all language and theory and talk, in ways to try to make sense, in the domain of language, out of this weird kaleidoscope of data that I'm getting every millisecond.
Then how do you find value?
How do you find value? Is that the question?
My question is, I mean, at that point, with that understanding, from there, what can you say is better or worse?
At this level, you are the creator of value. You're
That's
not
what I'm
looking
saying.
for it out there.
But we're all equal. We all are creating.
Well, yeah,
equally.
but in that domain, that's true. Yes, you create your own reality, and that's what goes for you. The usefulness is to have multiple of these, some of them that are actually in accord with the more common external reality that we share, and also including other maps that can be really bizarre and just off in their own little world. There's a whole bunch of possible ways of thinking and talking about all this stuff.
So then how do you go about finding which ones are better?
Well,
personally,
experiment maybe.
Theory?
Well, yeah. I mean, so no. The question is that you're finding it hard to figure out some meaning to this whole thing. The whole thing is beginning to look sort of like meaningless and empty, or
no, not at all. I think that I'm looking. I mean, nowadays I look at it more as just evolution. Really, I mean, to be honest with you, when I think about spirituality, the highest, I mean, the apex of it for me is evolution. What can I do to help evolution? Across all time and space. So, how do you start to make those kinds of values? Because that might be my goal.
I can tell you how I've
answered
it. I can tell you how I've answered it for me. Okay, this is not well, maybe it's a suggestion. I don't know. This is just the way I do. So I have given up on the idea of actually, in the domain of language, actually capturing the truth. I mean, I think that's a fiction. I'm not going to waste any more time with that. However, I think it's very important which story you commit yourself to. Not because the story is necessarily true, but because the story is inspirational and useful in offering metaphors and ways to think about things. Okay, so given that perspective, I have chosen the model of metamorphosis to be my model of what's going on the planet right now. And I'm not going to even go into the whole thing, but I mean, it's merely a metaphor for what's going on to the planet. And basically, it's drawing a metaphor between a caterpillar that's in the process of turning into a moth and the planet Earth, okay? Mm-hmm. So that gives me ways to think about what's going on, what my job is here, what I'm going to do, how I can do it, because the truth is, of course, I don't know how to do it. Because this is...
Well, when you say butterfly, like, what are the values that you see are different between a butterfly or an earthling or a human and a caterpillar?
Yeah. Well, one of them, I believe, do I believe? No. One of them, I assert, is breaking this identification with the voice in the head. That right. Basically humans are, I mean, that's, I think, like fundamental. I wish there was a way I could actually test for this, but I'd probably fail at myself half the time. So, but that's, I think, pretty much the fundamental thing. That has ramifications in every aspect of human behavior. And if we could just get past that. If people really understood that all they had was their story, that it isn't God's truth, it's just your story, and everybody else has got a story, and our job is to get together and try to come to some agreement here about stuff. But as long as people think they know what reality is, that'll never happen. But if a whole planet
Well, you
knew,
can't know reality.
then we could negotiate.
I mean,
Well,
you can know
I would say
yourself
that
to a
word
degree.
is useless. Actually, the word reality is meaningless.
Well, it depends. I think if you take into account it's meaningless, then you can use it all you want.
Then of course it's quite useful.
Yeah.
You're right. It depends on who you're talking to, at what time, and for what purpose.
That distinction, like, I mean, once you get to the point where you see, it's, I mean, to me, everything's perspective in a way. Like, I don't even know if that makes sense, though.
Yeah, that's too much. That you really can't say anything. I mean, if you really want to get down to the bottom, you just sort of have to shut up, because anything you say is a lie.
Well, of course, yes, it is, of course, but like, the way to relate to it
yes,
in this,
go right ahead anyway.
The best way to relate to it